have you ever thought that maybe you can just keep this one little sin and it's not going to affect you? You can kind of secretively do this one little thing and you know that it's really not that great, but it's also not all that bad and it's not going to be that big of a deal. Or maybe you can hang out with this certain crowd or be around this certain thing and it won't affect you because you're not going to do it. You're just in the vicinity or whatever. And then later you realize, no, that's actually really been influencing me. It's been changing the way that I do things or affecting me in some way. Or have you ever been in a situation where you've been asking God for a long time, please help me with this situation. And it seems like he's just not listening. He's doing nothing at all to help you. And you're wondering, why are you not helping me? Don't you care about me? Don't you have any power to do anything about this? And then later you realize, no, the reason he's not helping me is because I've been going completely against him. I've been asking him to help me, but then I've been doing everything my way instead of his way. And my way has actually been going against the exact things that he tells us to do. And so you've been wishing that God would help you. And he's like, well, do what I say. That'd be a start. Do what I say. And then I will help you, but you can't go completely against me and then expect me to help you. These are the things that one of the men in Israel find out today, that his hidden sin is actually affecting him and the rest of the people around him, and that we can't expect that God's going to help us whenever we completely go against him. So last week we talked about the Battle of Jericho, and this was the very first battle that the Israelites fought for the Promised Land. And because it was their very first battle, God wanted the entire city to be dedicated to him. And some of the things that were within the city, the gold and the silver and the bronze and the iron, those were all dedicated to God's treasury. But everything else that was given to God, he devoted to destruction. He said, I want the rest of this city completely, totally destroyed. You cannot take anything out of this city. Any of the things that have been devoted for destruction, if they are then taken out of Jericho and into your camp, then you're bringing destructive things into your home and then making yourself the object of destruction. So do not do that. So they had this battle and presumably everyone did what God said. But then when we get to chapter 7, we realize someone actually took some of the things that were devoted to destruction. But Joshua doesn't know this. And so Joshua begins preparing for the very next battle. The next place that they are going to fight is a town I don't know how to pronounce. It's spelled A-I. And so that's how I'm going to say it, because that I don't know how you say two vowels together. And so Joshua sends 2 spies into the town of Ai, which is west of Jericho, about 10 or 15 miles into the hills. And he says, go and spy out this land and just tell me what it looks like so I know how to proceed. And so when he sends the spies into the land and they come back, they say, this is a real small town. We find out in chapter 8 that it actually only holds about 12,000 people in total, not just men, but total people. And so they say there's only about 12,000 people there. Send 2,000 or 3,000 men. It's not a big deal. And so Joshua does this. He sends 3,000 men into the city of Ai, and they are immediately chased out of this town, all the way to the bluffs. And as they're running down this steep route out of town, 36 of their soldiers are killed. And when they get back to camp, Joshua is totally confused. He's like, we just won a huge battle against the city of Jericho, a fortified city with tons of people. And then we get run out of town by a group of teeny tiny little people, and 36 of our people get killed. No one even got killed in Jericho. And so what in the world is going on? Now, Joshua did the right thing. He knelt at the foot of the Ark of the Covenant and he said, God, what in the world is going on? This is verse 7 of chapter 7. Joshua says, Alas, O Lord God, why have you brought this people over the Jordan at all? To give us into the hands of the Amorites to destroy us? Would that we had been content just to dwell beyond the Jordan. Oh Lord, what can I say when Israel has turned their backs before their enemies? For the Canaanites and all the inhabitants of the land are going to hear of it, and they're going to surround us, and they're going to cut off our name from the earth. What then will become of your great name? And so Joshua, remember before, all of the rest of the places were terrified of the Israelites. But now it looks like the Israelites are terrified of them because they're run out of town. And so all of their momentum is lost, and Joshua is afraid that everyone is going to see what just happened, and they're going to gang up on them and kill them before they even get another battle underway. And so Joshua did the right thing by going to God and asking him, what in the world just happened? I'm so confused. But then in his questioning, he actually was questioning if God was able to fulfill his promise. He's like, why did you even bring us here at all if we were just going to die? You said you were bringing us into this land and we were going to take possession of it, but now we're probably not going to take possession of it. And so he's doubting God's ability to bring them this victory that he said he was going to bring. But God quickly said, actually, that's not the case. I actually am fulfilling my promise by making you be defeated this time. And so this is verse 10. God says, get up. Why have you fallen on your face? Israel has sinned. They've transgressed my covenant that I commanded them. They've taken some of the devoted things. They have stolen and lied and put them among their own belongings. Therefore, the people of Israel can't stand before their enemies. They turn their backs before their enemies because they have become devoted for destruction. Remember, that was God's promise. I will be with you no more unless you destroy the devoted things from among you. So God had already told them. He said, I am keeping my promise. I did promise to let you inherit this land, and that promise will be fulfilled, but only if you obey me. Because I also told you that if you brought the things that were devoted for destruction into your camp, then you would be devoted for destruction. And that's exactly what happened. You were defeated. And so if you want me to be with you in these fights, you have to do the things the way I tell you to do them. So now you have to go and find these things and destroy them. And then I'll be with you again in these battles. And so before we go any further in this story, I just want to stop for a minute and take note that they were riding high. They were confident and victorious only, just moments before with this first battle. They were so excited. And it took one tiny defeat for them to be totally deflated. And I just wonder if we're like that sometimes. If we think, oh, I'm trusting God. God is there. He's taking care of me. I love you, God. You're so great. And then one thing happens and we're like, wait, what, are you not here anymore? Do you not care about me? Are you not paying attention? Do you have no power? What is going on? It's like, it only takes one tiny defeat to totally destroy your confidence in me. Is that really how it goes? And often it is that way. And I just thought it funny that human nature has not changed, has it? We do this to God ourselves. But luckily, Joshua did actually go to God and genuinely ask him the question. He didn't turn his back on God. He didn't give up. He did, question him, but he really genuinely did not understand what was going on. And his humanness did let him be discouraged and maybe doubt God a bit, but he took those doubts to God. And that's what we need to do. When we are discouraged, when we don't understand what is going on, when we don't see God's work for us, then we should go to him. And we should say, wait, I'm completely confused. I don't know what's going on. It seems like you don't hear my prayers, or you don't care about me, or you're doing nothing to help me. And then God will answer us. And it may not be for this reason. It's not always because we sinned. Sometimes God may say something to us like, well, you're not doing what I want you to do. No, I'm not with you in this because this isn't my will. This is your will. And so we always need to be praying in God's will. God isn't a genie that we just get to ask for wishes and he just does whatever we say because we're his children and he gives us whatever we want. That's not how it works. And so if it looks to us as if God isn't answering our prayers, maybe he's saying, yeah, because you're not praying according to my will. Remember the Lord, what people call the Lord's Prayer or the model prayer? It begins by saying, our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. That's the first thing that Jesus says that we should pray for. We should tell God that we honor him, and then we should say, we want your will. You know, even Jesus prayed this. Whenever he knew he was about to be hung on the cross, he asked God, can this please not happen to me? And then he ended by saying, but not my will be done, but yours, Lord. And so if that prayer is good enough for the Son of God, then it's good enough for us. And so we need to be praying according to God's will. So maybe that's why God isn't with us in our pursuit or in our prayers. Another thing God might say is, well, you're praying and you're asking, but you're not listening. You don't really want to hear what I have to say. Listen to what it says in John 8:43. He says, why do you not understand what I say? It's because you can't bear to hear my word. And so we may be coming to him and saying, God, I don't understand. And he's like, yeah, I'm trying to explain it to you, but you don't want to hear it. You think that your ways are better. You don't like the truth that I'm speaking to you. And so you're ignoring it. But I'm trying to explain this to you. And so just because it may sound sometimes mean to us, God's answers sometimes sound mean to us, we have to accept them because God is never the one that is at fault. If we are confused, if we are in doubt, it's because there's something wrong with us. We don't know God's ways. We don't understand him. We aren't listening to him. We're doing our own will, whatever it is, but it's never God's fault. And so when we go to God and we ask him questions, we have to genuinely be seeking his answers. We have to genuinely be realizing something is off here. I'm misunderstanding something because there's something wrong with my thought process or my ways of going about things, not because there's something wrong with God. And so when we go to him and we ask him, he may say to us, yeah, I'm trying to explain it to you, but you don't like my answer. And so we have to be listening to God and accepting his answer because he goes on in that verse, in verse 44 to say, you are of your father, the devil, and your will is to do your father's desires. He was a murderer from the beginning and he didn't stand in the truth because there isn't any truth in him. When he lies, he speaks out of his own character, for he is a liar and the father of lies. And so we want to hear the truth. We don't want to be siding with Satan, wanting to hear the deception because it tickles our ears. It makes us feel better. Whatever it is that we want to hear from God, God says, no, I am truth. And so you have to listen when I tell you the truth. Don't be wanting the things that you want because those are ultimately, if they're not the true things, then those are ultimately the things that Satan wants. And so he says, you need to be listening to me. So that may be why God isn't answering our confusion, is because we just really don't like to hear what he has to say. And then it could be that we're completely aligned with God. We're doing exactly what God would want a follower of his to do, but we're just not doing it for the right reasons. It's not because we were asking him, how did you want me to proceed? And we were listening to him and we were doing his will. We were just doing what we thought was right. And it happens to align with God's ways, but it's for our own desires, something that makes us feel good about ourselves or look good to someone else. And God says, yeah, I'm not going to be in that if it's all for your pride or all for your ego or your appearance or whatever. And so he tells the people this in James 4:2-3. He says, you covet and you can't obtain, so you fight and you quarrel. You don't have because you don't ask. But then you ask and you don't receive because you ask wrongly so that you can spend it on your own desires. And he said, sometimes you don't have what you want because you're not even asking me for it. You're just trying to attain it on your own. And then sometimes you have asked me for it, but I don't give it to you because you're not asking for anything that's beneficial to me. You're asking for yourself. And so maybe that's what God would say to us if we were to say, God, I'm confused. Why are you not working for me? Why are you not helping me? And then it could be that it's the same reason as it is for the Israelites. Maybe God isn't helping us because we're sinning in some way. Maybe we're just living a sinful lifestyle. And so we're heaping trouble on ourselves. And God is like, yeah, these are the consequences of your sin. That is why you keep having trouble, is because you're living a troubled lifestyle, a lifestyle that brings trouble upon you. But then again, it may be that you're in a specific situation like the Israelites were in. And it's not that you're just living in sin and you're heaping, consequences upon yourself. Maybe God's actually, withdrawing his help from you because you're not doing things the way that he told you to do them. Maybe you asked him for help in this specific situation and he's like, okay, yes, I agree with that. I want to help you with that. But then you start doing things completely contrary to him. God's going to say, okay, I have told you specifically not to lie, but you think that you have to lie in order for this outcome to be brought about. And so, all right, I guess you got this. No reason for me to help you, right? Something of that nature. It could be a situation like that where God does want to help us and he does agree with the thing that we've asked him to help us with, but we have to do it his way. We can't go completely against him in that situation. And then a totally innocent reason could be that God is working behind the scenes and we're just unaware and we're getting discouraged after the very first defeat when there's absolutely no reason to, right? So there's many reasons, many things that God could tell us if we come to him and say, wait, God, I'm confused. What's going on? But we always need to do that. We always need to first recognize our confusion is our fault. We don't understand something. And then go to God and say, what in the world is going on? Please help me understand. And then listen to what he has to say and follow his ways. Don't allow ourselves to be discouraged and quit or, go against him, doubt him, whatever.